Quantum Potential School, elevating your vibration and expanding your consciousness with practical tools from your host, Linda Sevilla.
Welcome to lesson number 6, where we're going to talk about how your belief system is formed. Last time we got together, I was talking about how we need to take charge of our subconscious. One of the reasons for that is that your subconscious does whatever it is programmed to do. And so this is where we're going to start today. See, the problem is most of us are not aware of how our minds are programmed, and most of us are not intentionally programming our own subconscious for the results we want. And what that means is that old programs are basically creating our lives, creating our reality. Now, when we are born, we have only our subconscious mind, meaning we don't have our logical mind when we're born. Babies are not particularly analytical. Now, this is Mother Nature's way of making sure that we learn everything that we need to learn in those first few years of our lives, because we've got a lot to learn. Without having an analytical mind to censor things or to question things, we are wide open. We just take all the information we're exposed to right into our subconscious, into our long term memory. And so we take in messaging that we get from our family members, the things they tell us, the things they say, but we also take in indirect messages. We can learn a lot about the world by observing our parents' behavior. For example, if you had a parent who was anxious, you may be anxious yourself because you grew up around a person who told you the world is unsafe and you observed that in their behavior. We're learning how to be in the world by observing our parents. And so we're taking in all kinds of information. Some of it's practical. We have important things we need to learn. We need to learn animals and colors and numbers and shapes and all of that. But we're also taking in more subtle information, the family values, the family rules, the expectations, what kind of people we are. All of this is being imprinted into the subconscious in those first few years of our lives. And so, because we don't have our analytical mind when we're little, we don't judge what we're being told. If you were a year old and I tried to tell you that that thing was a triangle, if nobody had gotten to you first, you would just believe me. And it would take somebody a lot of work later to talk you out of believing that. And so, in much the same way, we are taking in without censoring the messages that we get from the people around us. If you have a critical parent, for example, growing up, who either through their words or behaviors makes you feel as though you're not enough, that gets imprinted onto your subconscious mind. Your subconscious is not rational. It can't go, oh, mom's just in a bad mood, she's having a bad day, or she's got her own stuff. We just take that messaging in and it sticks on a subconscious level. The subconscious does not tend to update on its own. Now, around 2 or 3, we begin to develop our logical mind. If you're a parent, this is when your kids started saying, why? They're questioning everything because they now have an analytical mind to do that with. It takes until 8 or 9 years old for that logical mind to be fully developed. So now we have kind of a filter that exists between the conscious and subconscious mind, which means we can filter out the messages that we're given. But there are times in our lives when that filter opens up, and it's like being a year old again. We're taking in messages without any ability to censor them and without even being aware that we're doing so. And so, when is that filter open? Well, it's open whenever we're emotional or overwhelmed. If you caught the last lesson, you know that I talked about how the subconscious is your emotional mind. Whenever we're highly emotional, logic is out the window. We are in touch with our subconscious in that moment. We're also wide open when we're under the influence of drugs or alcohol or under anesthetic. They've done studies where they've taken people who were under anesthetic, put them in hypnosis, and they were able to recall things said and done that could be verified by other people, even though they were technically knocked out. So your subconscious is still taking things in, even if your logical mind is anesthetized. Whenever we're around somebody whose opinion matters to us or somebody we want to impress, the filter is wide open. This is why our peers are so important when we're little. We are inclined to take in the messages that they give us simply because of the role they play in our lives. And the same can be said of authorities. We're taught from the time we're little to respect the big people. They know what they're talking about. Don't question authorities. And so even when we become a big person, that filter's open and what the authority says goes into our subconscious mind. This, incidentally, is why placebo works. We put the doctor on a pedestal, we think they know what they're talking about. And so when the doctor gives us chalk or saline or sugar and says, this medicine's going to make you feel better, 38% of people get better because that message got taken in on a subconscious level and the subconscious did the healing. We're also open to messages whenever we're zoned out. If you're driving and you don't remember passing things, you're in a natural trance state, we're wide open to the messaging that we're receiving at those times as well. We also give ourselves messages. Do you have a voice inside your head? It might be the voice that's saying, I don't have a voice. What's she talking about? We're constantly running commentary on our own lives. We're constantly speaking to ourselves. And so we're also impressing what we say to ourselves upon our subconscious mind. And so, in all of these situations, our mind is, in a sense, being programmed up until we're 2 or 3 years old, when we're around authorities, when we're exposed to media or social media, which we also consider an authority. When we're around our peers, we're emotional or overwhelmed, we're speaking to ourselves, or we're in a natural trance state pretty much all the time. And so we are constantly being told by a variety of sources what to believe, what to value, who we are, who we aren't, what we're capable of, what our limitations are, what reality is, what's true or false, right or wrong, what's desirable or attractive, what's socially acceptable, what we should aspire to. All of this is being programmed into our subconscious from a variety of different sources. And so think about this. We are constantly being told what to believe. And because the subconscious doesn't know any better, it just takes in those messages without censoring. And this can create limitations. Because if you've been told that's impossible, only special people can do that. You don't have an imaginary friend. You can't bilocate. You can't do psychometry. You can't tap into the knowledge of the universe. Whatever you're told gets impressed upon your subconscious and becomes your reality. There's a saying here from Henry Ford: whether you believe you can or not, you are correct. Your subconscious runs the majority of your behavior. If you've been programmed for limitations, you're going to have limitations. And so we are constantly being told what is possible, what is real. And yet, there are people who are telepathic. There are people who can heal with their hands. There are people who can see spirits and energies and auras. There are people who can lucid dream and astral travel and bilocate. So bear with me here. What if people who can do those things don't have some kind of special talent or magical ability? What if these are people doing what people would do if they'd never been given a belief in their limitations? What if these are people who are using talents and skills that we all have, but they've somehow been able to maintain them because their environment supported those talents? What if we are all unlimited in our potential? And this is what we would all be doing if we took control of our own subconscious mind, got rid of that limiting programming, and believed in our limitless nature. And that's what this course is essentially all about: helping to remove any limitations, any negative programming, anything that's kept you from being what you're capable of being. And I'm not just talking about changing habits and behaviors and beliefs, although I am going to give you tools to do that. I'm also talking about tapping into our true nature as consciousness beings, being able to do things that we've been told are impossible. Stay tuned because we're going to learn how to do all that crazy stuff together.
Thanks so much for watching. Catch a new free video every Friday and level up your consciousness. Have a high vibing week.